So somebody asked me how many of these seats ended up in the fireplace. The answer is 0, but some of them have some very elaborate patching. For instance, I told you about this gutter groove right here. I glued pieces back in to fix some of them, right? But they're going to be painted, so you won't know the difference. One of these got too big, but I'm a turner, so I just turned a socket that just fit in there, glued it in, re-reamed the hole. So one of them, it might even be this one, I don't know. So there was a lot of patching going on.
Is your microphone on?
Turn it off. Is it working?
Should be.
Hello? Hello? I'd say, can you hear me now, but that might be trademark.
Come back here. Okay.
Ready?
There.
Okay. So besides getting these angles, you also have to get the length. So what I did was I made a couple pointed pieces of wood that I would slide out and clamp. And then I could take them out and accurately measure. And then you got to add so much on for the tenon and all that. And then for the middle stretcher, you got to measure front and back and take an average, because that middle stretcher's halfway down the side stretchers. Okay.
Is there any problem with the slot with the loader? The slot in there,
Yeah, I'm having trouble with these runners because these slots don't want to line up. Because the stretcher is trying to set the angle of this thing, and the runner's trying to set the angle, and they're not agreeing with each other. So I can get them together, but all right. I think I covered this. So did you, after you, right before I glue these in, I slot them on a bandsaw and I make wedges, okay? And you bang that wedge in there and it swells the top of the tenon. So now this joint almost has a taper from both directions. It's tapered up from the bottom and it's swelled at the top from the wedge, so it should never come out.
Can you see that wedge?
Yeah. You guys will have to come up, but can you see them there?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that the,
So that's done 6 places. 4 for the legs and underneath here.
is that the typical way that it's been done in the past, where it's wedged? Is it ever also seated? Or is it always just a friction with it?
You mean with the
With the
shoulder?
Yeah, with the shoulder.
No, they don't. That'd make it very tricky because you have,
You just
if your shoulder was proud, your taper would be loose.
Right.
So the idea of having a taper is that you always end up tight.
So what kind of glue are you using for the?
I just use regular type on. I mean, the professionals use high glue, but I didn't see the need.
So you were saying that you drive the wedge in, did you have opposing tapers on each side of the seat? So when it flared out, or?
No, but the seats are soft.
Okay.
So you're just kind of squeezing and you put the wedge in perpendicular to the end grain of the seat, because if it was side grain, it'd just move. So that end grain in the seat is stronger. Okay, now what was I going to do? Okay, I was going to kind of show you how to, so you do the undercarriage first. Then this just shows you that I made octagons. The closer you can get to round before you start turning, the better off you are. So, put those in there. And then you take your comb and you, let's see if I can remember how this goes. You have to, well, this doesn't appear. Usually I have to spread these things, right? And you get the height of this right by measuring up from there. And you get it square, and you got to get it centered because there's no guarantee that these guys are coming up out of the seat just right. And then you mark where the bottom of the comb hits the post, and you mark the angle of the post. And I don't know why it isn't in this case, but maybe anyway. Usually I have to spread these out like this, okay? And that's by design. These posts are intended to be flared out. And then you get the angle, and you drill it. And I can't.
So you have more hands, or is somebody helping you?
No, it's fine.
Hands or what?
No, it's fine. So, of course, this one hasn't been trimmed yet. And I don't know if you can notice it, but these little grooves aren't the exact same distance up from the seat. They form a very subtle crown. Can you see that on there? Yeah. Extra pain in the butt.
How many daughters do you have?
Just 2. So then you do the outside 2 and the center one, and then I think you can see. Yeah, okay. So you can see my markings on this comb. I move that over and I mark along the side of it, and then you got to use that. You got to tip that comb at your drill press and drill those angled holes in. Now, the assembly up till now was difficult, but this step is scary. You've got to make 9 glue joints when you put this comb on. And the top of this thing is fragile. So sometimes if I hadn't trimmed the tenon down here, I could get a clamp on there. But when you super dry these tenons, as soon as glue hits them, they start expanding. So you've got seconds to make those glue joints. And one of his techniques that I would have never thought of is you get glue everywhere. And he uses hot water and a toothbrush to clean up all the glue. I'd never seen that before, but it works great. Of course, it raises the grain, but it cleans up the glue very well. So that's where this guy comes in. I made these things, and they slip down over there so that you can wail on that comb with a hammer without busting that top edge off. So I had to get my wife to help me with those. We don't work very well together. We got it done. It's water-based. Yeah. I did use the tight bond extend, but as far as I can tell, it only extends like that much. It's not very effective. Yeah.
Like this, you put it together dry, and put like super glue or something, would that work?
Super glue is pretty brittle. I wouldn't want that for a long-term project.
Would you really use to glue the smaller ones? Could you just glue the outer ones?
leave the middle ones to?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, the guy I'm following moves them. So, let's see. Okay, so, of course, after all that, you're not gonna have 4 feet that sit perfectly on the floor. So, but there's a trick. There's a trick for that too. So, what you do is, this is supposed to be 3/4 of an inch below this, right? So you set this thing up on shims, and you get the delta between the front and the back at 3/4, and you get it level side to side, okay? Because it might not be, it might be tipped. So you get it all set up on shims, and then you come around with a scribe, and you mark an inch up from the tabletop, wherever you end up with your shims, you just set the scribe to some value, and you go around and you mark these legs, because they're not straight even, they're angled, okay? And then I cut them off with one of those Japanese saws, close to the mark, and then I take it over to my table saw, and I see where does it tip, and I sand the bottom of the one, and they were usually within 1/16 or so. And then once you get it set and level, you kind of taper, you chamfer these edges so that they don't knock a chip off. Yeah.
So the table saws your reference plane, basically.
That's the flattest thing I have in my shop. The floor might not be flat, it's sitting on. Oh, yeah. You ever hang wallpaper with your wife?
That was my first one.
Yeah, right, exactly. Okay. So, there's a picture of me drilling a leg on my table, or on my drill press. Let's see, I'm not going to try this simple rocking chair. So, I've always wanted to make a chair, but I don't think I would ever tackle it if she hadn't asked for it.
So you're not taking orders?
No. No. Take a guess at what the guy who makes these for a living charges for a chair like that.
2,200.
1,400.
What?
For a chair. Yeah.
That's
So
I haven't
I
seen
told my
mine.
daughter this is an $8,000 wedding gift.
That answers my question. I was wondering why you didn't buy her set.
So you're holding your second daughter, that's for what, picture frames?
Spin on the wood.
Oh, next to nothing. I think I got the poplar from a guy on Facebook Marketplace. It was about $1 a board foot. There's probably 2 or 3 board foot in every chair. I spent more on tools than I did on wood by far. The ash was free. All the hard maple I harvested myself as well and dried. Yeah, it looks daunting, but you just got to break it down. And patience and perseverance is all it takes.
What color did your daughter decide on for the chairs?
Peacock. Yeah,
Which color?
it's a dark gray. With a little bit of purplish tint to it. You know, when you give somebody 120 color choices. Any final questions? If you want to take this on, I'll be happy to assist you.
After you paint it, what kind of a coat, you put anything else on it to protect the paint?
I think I'm going to put tongue oil on it. She's very sensitive to smells and stuff like that. So I think they do recommend you put a top coat on it. And the milk paint's a pain in the neck, you gotta burnish it and I think I'll work ahead.
Your hands from my bird using milk paint, and I told everybody that years ago, they used to paint their barns on the wagon train swaying west with bloods and milk,
Yeah.
and that's why all the barns were red. And Rob said, no way, and I believe that's true.
Could be. The stuff is weird. It reminds me of mixed concrete. That's what it reminds me of. And it kind of, I think the chemistry is somewhat similar. Anything else? Anybody want to paint them for me?
Oh, no.
How do you want to paint it?
As far as the glue goes,
Yeah,
it's a really old-fashioned system. High glue.
yeah,
High glue, I've used it a lot. It has a long open time. The only problem is if you get it wet, you can take things apart with it.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I use.
That's what the professionals use, but
That's what I use.
Yeah, the reason high glue is used is so that you can't pull it apart if you need to repair it. If it's tight on, then you need to repair it.
that it?
That's amazing. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Curtis. Anybody have any other questions, comments, anything? I have one quick question for you, I forgot to bring this up. We've been discussing the possibility of putting up that chair lift on the stairs. We're gonna look into the manufacturer's specs for it. We're concerned on how much of the stairway we might infringe on. Is there a lot of interest in that? Somebody brought up that maybe some guys would be too proud to go up and down on that chair. I mean, are people interested? Do we even look into it for right now?
I need it, if you're going to do that, it's dirty,
We've got 8 guys who can fit in the stairway at one time.
We got a board that confuses us.
I'll have it out by next week, Jeff.
Jeff, getting it down is the problem.
I mean, if we put it in, are we gonna use it?
There's times people would.
Jay?
Well, if you put it in and somebody's got a knee operation or something that can't really do it, they're gonna use it, they're gonna, if they wanna come to the meeting, and then they can come to the meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, look around here, there's no really young fellows around here.
Hey.
Hey!
You need to use the word younger. That's younger.
What you're saying is if we build it, they will come. Okay.
Probably.
All right, I'm just curious. No, we got it.
Oh, you have one?